Three, four, five, six carriage train as well. Six carriages, not even the standard two, just like six carriages. Alright. Arse. 1:27 AM, Tuesday the 9th of April. 1:27 AM, just stood on the canal at the very narrow point, the narrowest point where I normally film the trains at night. I'm just waiting to see if another train shows up. One's gone by. And I was just basically facing the motorway towards home, and I just saw a blue light going across the road, going across the motorway from right, emerging from behind the trees just ahead of me, all the way to the left, near where the green light is on the signals, railway signals. It's 1:27 AM. That's about 15 minutes after I've got video evidence of a police car doing exactly the same thing along the road, just 5 minutes after coming out of the house. So that's just an audio log of that. Blue light's just gone the exact opposite way 5 minutes after I last saw blue lights going across the opposite way. So it went from right to left, and now 5 minutes later it's gone from left to right, and now 5 minutes later left to right. It was 1:27 when I last saw it, so I'll just 1:33 AM, so 6 minutes space between a siren, not a siren, but lights, blue strobe lights going from left to right, emerging from behind the trees along the canal path. I would say maybe 300 or 400 meters off in the distance. And then 6 minutes later, blue strobe lights from right to left. Unfortunately, I couldn't record it because I'm charging my phone up right now. It's on 8%. It was on 8% at the moment I saw the second blue strobe light. So that's three sets of lights, all silent. No sirens, just silent blue strobe lights. No sirens. In every instance, three separate vehicles. 3 vehicles in a half an hour period. If half an hour, I don't even think it's half an hour. It's fear. They're responding out of fear, and that's what it is. On 10% now. Basically signposting the fact that they're in fear of me. They fear what I've got. 11%. It's working its way up slowly. I don't think there's going to be another train, but I said that 20 minutes ago. And although I can't actually show it right now, what the strange thing is, there's a blue light, a very small blue dot flashing on the left top side of my phone, which is basically the same, almost looks like a siren, exactly what I've just seen. So in a way they could be just mimicking what I'm seeing in front of my own eyes as I'm stood here. And that's what they're getting paid for, by the way. I'll stop recording so it might charge up a little bit quicker, 12%. I've got it on audio record. I don't think there's going to be any more trains, so I'm just on my way on. Oh, there's a bit of a crunch, I don't know, with a snail. Was it a slug with a mobile home? So I had an interesting thought earlier. The more I think about this life assurance guy when I was younger, I don't know exactly what age I was, but I know it wasn't long after we moved into the new house. We'd already always lived in the same house up until 1992. No, sorry, 93. So I would have been at the very least 20. It might have been the first year, second year, somewhere between 20 and 22, because then I went to college 96, September 96, and I would have been about 23 then, 22, almost 23. So I would guess somewhere between the age of 20, yeah, I was at least 20, 22, somewhere between the age of 20, 22, we had a life insurance guy, and I'm pretty sure it was from Sun Life, which, strangely enough, is what I'm getting bombarded with mail with the last few months. I keep getting letters from Sun Life that are obviously kind of applications for the insurance over 50s. But anyway, we had a guy come to the house to visit, and he specifically wanted to talk to me and try and get me signed up for the life insurance. And as I always said in previous videos I uploaded explaining this, I actually said to him, I mean, I was prepared to listen to him. So that in itself says I was entertaining the idea of signing up for it. However, at some point during the visit, when it came to the crux and he wanted to kind of close it and say, yeah, okay, are you interested? And then I think I said something, I can't exactly remember verbatim, but I said something along the lines of, I would be, but I don't think I'm going to live past the age of 50. Well, why is he in the house to begin with, trying to sell you life insurance? I mean, it might be that I didn't know it was up to the age of 50, but you're not going to get that stuff straight away if you live to the point where you get the payout. And that's what I said. So I listened to him, took on board what he said, and then at the end of that, when he said, okay, you're interested, I said that. I don't think I'm going to live past the age of 50, but here's what I'm thinking now. Now I reflect on this even more. I already believe it was mind control to begin with, but considering what happened last year with my cousin, and the fact that he'd not had any heart attacks 3 years ago when I spoke to him on Facebook, and all those heart attacks he mentioned that he'd had were in that 3 years gap between me last contacting him and then also contacting him last in 2021 or something, 2020, 2021, and then I think it was 2020, and then opening up contact with him again in March 2023 last year. He drops it on me, but the strange thing is, like I said, like I've always already mentioned in the videos, the first thing he said to me was he was only thinking about me earlier, the same day. So what I should have asked is, how many times have you actually thought about me in the last 3 years? That would have been a pretty important question to ask him, and an intelligent question, and I should have asked that. You know, all right, he might have woke up every single day of his last 3 years and thought about me, but you know, the fact that he actually said that has made it sound like he'd not thought about me for the same period as what I've not thought about him. 3 year period. So yeah, that's the first thing he typed. First message I got from him was, "Hi, how you doing? I was only thinking about you earlier." And so that made me start thinking it was mind control at work. And the idea behind that is that if they have this mind control, well, they do have mind control. Let's call it a weapon, because it can be used as a weapon, and it has been used as a weapon. So let's assume that they can use this simultaneously on two separate people throughout the course of a day. Maybe not simultaneously. Well, I mean, we could. I mean, it's not beyond the limit, is it? But let's just say they used it on both of us on the same day to get one to contact the other. In other words, inject the thoughts into your head. It suggests the thoughts into each of mine and my cousin's minds to contact the other, so that they make sure and ensure that one contacts the other. And then Kerry, it would be inevitable that he would mention the heart attacks, simply because, you know, we're catching up on one another for 3 years. 3 years of no contact. He's going to mention that, he's bound to, and that's what he did early doors in the conversation. So my thinking now is, what if there had been, possibly from birth, I'm not saying it definitely is, but what if there had been from birth a plan by some agency who's behind all this, because there is an agency behind all this. What if they had carried out some policy which would see both me and my cousin dying before our 50th birthday? And I also, what I've not already touched upon really in previous videos, is I believe this stems further back, so it goes all the way back to my father. I mean, there was a family of 8, so they stood out. There would have been a family of some kind of interest, just purely through being such a large family. And it would make sense, wouldn't it, if you're going to monitor one home in a block, in a street, and all the families and all the residents are basically normal sized families, like 2 to 4 just married couples, or married couples with 1 or 2 kids, and then you've got a family with 8 kids, and you're only going to monitor one of these families, just as an experiment. Who are you going to monitor? Which family are you going to monitor? Well, you're going to get your money's worth, aren't you? Is what you're going to do. I mean, there's all kinds of issues here, and besides just the surveillance alone, there's all kinds of issues. And you know, it's almost like you've got a bunch of Jimmy Saviles behind this weapon, just like, because if they're monitoring the family probably from like my birth, probably all the way from their births. So how far this goes back, I don't know in the family. All I know that there was one, my granddad's father fought in the Boer War. He was in Africa, and he fought in all different types of countries. Or the regiment that he was signed up to or belonged to was fought in different parts of Africa, like Tunisia and Morocco and all them kind of places. Okay, so I don't know very much about this person in our family, this great granddad. But this is what I learned only last year through the conversation. Oh, sorry, a few years ago I learned this. That was going further back of a different conversation we had. And he sent me the regimental colours, a picture of it, and it was quite impressive. But that's as far as I can go back in our family. So great granddad. So what if I mean, I'm not saying this is the case, but what if they start targeting people who were involved in military action around Africa and Asia and the Middle Eastern countries, and then they would just basically single out those. I mean, there's a way you could easily find this out. Get a group of people who have whose family history have people serving in the military, or maybe same regiments, and find out what's going on in their lives. Are you being targeted as well? Are you experiencing what I'm experiencing? Because like I said, I don't believe this is to do with me. I believe it stems back further than just me, because of the evidence I've got. And I've got some very interesting evidence. So what if there had already been an agreement or a policy taken out on mine and my cousin's life, where we both were taken out before the age of, or at the age of 50, and then someone stands to gain a load of money from this. My cousin Trina as well died age 50, sudden onset cancer, and yet the two older sisters, by a couple of years older, 2 or 3 years older, if not maybe 4. I think there was a big gap between the first 2 kids they had, and then the younger 2, Kerry and Trina. And yet they're fine. They're still survived. They're survived, and the younger 2 are now dead. And they both die at roughly the same age 50. And then I was not getting targeted anywhere close to the level and degree as what I was experiencing straight after that conversation, even during that conversation. It all started during that conversation, from the moment Kerry told me about the heart attacks, and it's just never stopped since. So what I did, I rather intelligently decided to go out, get out on my bike and start doing more exercise than I'd ever done in previous years. And only last week I did a hike to the Peak District. I've never been to the Peak District before, so I did a hike there, 8 hours walking around, climbing up a big hill. Got video footage of it, as I have with Gordale Scar the year previous. And yet, what they'll do as soon as they get back home, they'll start targeting again. I'm there at the computer logging 40-50 attacks, and yet I'm hiking about and nothing's happening. Nothing's happening because all that's happening at home is just bullshit. It's bullshit targeting. So you're continuing with it, in spite of the fact that I'm proving quite clearly, and occasionally running up and down the stairs with no issues and no problems. Go out cycling. I'll be starting cycling soon. I'll be doing a load of other videos like I did last year, and I'll be hopefully doing other hikes. And all the while that I'm proving my fitness and showing that I am fit and my heart's fine, they're still targeting me at home, regardless, to try and make it look like I've got a frail heart. But there I am, hiking, showing that my heart's fine, running up and down the stairs in between attacks, in periods of like heavy bouts of attacks. So it'll be like heavy targeting, and then what I'll do, I'll decide to get up and run up and down the stairs like 5-6 times, 5 up, 5 down, and then I'll sit back down. I experienced nothing during the running, sit back down, and then there'll be more heavy targeting the moment I sit down. And it just continues for the rest of the day. I get up again, and then I start running up and down the stairs. Nothing happens. I sit back down, targeting occurs again. So regardless of whether I'm proving my heart's fine, they're still rather stupidly and naively trying to think that, they can get away with doing what they're doing. You can't be one or the other. You can't be both at the same time. You can't have a frail heart and a good heart at the same time. And if I'm proving I've got a good heart and it's fine, then that can only mean that the target, that I'm being targeted. All these logs genuinely are targeting, which they are. I know they are, because they're all responsive. 99.9%, 999% of the time, they're all responsive. I could just as easily say the 100% blatant responsive. Because in every instance they're blatant responsive. Not to always the same stimuli, but it's always a stimuli to the targeting. In every instance. I'm going to switch. So that's what I've been thinking the last day or so, is that I think mind control was at work right there and then when I was in that, having that life insurance talk with the guy, and they suggested that I say that. They suggested in my mind to say that because I was already under surveillance, and there was already applying the mind control weapon on me. I mean, I wasn't to know until many years later. So, you know, there's all kinds of stuff. There's the guy in the hospital who says, I want to tell you something, but I don't want to upset you. All that kind of bullshit. I mean, how many ambulances have I got on video? Just like driving past with the sirens and blue strobe lights every time I go out the fucking house. You know, it doesn't take a fucking Einstein to realise who's behind all this. Alright, I'm going to switch to camera. Anyway, yeah, I closed my Facebook account. It's been targeted to the heart as soon as I say that. Closed my Facebook account, and it's going to be 30 days before it's officially fully deleted. So I got an email saying it's going to be May the 9th by the time it's officially deleted. But I did permanently delete it tonight. But earlier today, I spent a few hours. I set the desktop's record to record, and then I scrolled through all that I wrote, which was basically 2012, April 2012. I decided to, almost from the start of my diary, I think it was from June though, from the 1st of June. Oh no, it was from January, because I printed out everything from January to June, and then I left what was remaining to print out on Facebook. So the diary actually begins in 2006, but I printed all that out. So what I did, this is something I did 5 years after the diary was written. So it was on Facebook, and I decided to type out as much as I possibly could on Facebook of my diary, but day by day, by the day, which was a laborious process. But I managed to get all the way up to 2007, mid-December 2007, and that's in the diary, 2007 in the diary, and then I was actually typing it up until the first week in November, just gone the first week in November in 2012. It's quite confusing, it's going back and forth. So I'm doing this on Facebook in 2012, from April to November, typing up diary notes from 2007, January 2007 to December 2007, if that makes any sense. So what I did, I set the desktop record to record while I scroll through it. So rather than print it out, I'm just going to have it on the desktop record. So I've created a file now where I'm just scrolling through. So I could just refer to that rather than print outs. But I've got printouts from January to June, the start of June, and the rest is from June to December, where it's on a file now with me just scrolling past it all slowly. I mean, it wasn't absolutely necessary because I still have the diary, and I can refer to that. But what I'd done on the Facebook was I was being targeted as I typed, so thankfully I created some symbols that indicated at what points I was being targeted. But early tonight I couldn't figure out what these were. I thought someone had hacked into my Facebook and inserted these like arrow points, you know, like the arrow symbols where they go left and right and up and down. I thought someone had hacked into my Facebook and inserted them and trying to be clever. But what it was, now I actually remembered, it was me actually indicating at what points I was being targeted. So what I was doing, I was indicating with these symbols that I thought someone had hacked in and inserted themselves, but then I remembered that it was me, it was my doing. I'd created symbols to indicate at what points I was being targeted as I typed up the rewrite of the diary in 2012 on Facebook. So in a way there's a diary, and then there's also 1 year, the first year of the diary, 2007, in which there's another diary kind of thing, or more like a log of what was happening as I was typing it, which makes it quite interesting, because there was some very interesting moments where I wasn't being targeted actually, which is why I thought someone had hacked into my account, because it was just very weird, the moments where the symbols were appearing. So I used the arrows to point to which word I'm referring to. So if it was to the left, I'd indicate the left arrow, or it was to the right, something like that, I don't know. I also created the hash symbol, but I don't know what that was for. There's two different types of symbols. I think one indicates a type of targeted, then the other, I think the different types indicate different types of targeting. But yeah, I think the two different symbols are to indicate two different types of attack, but I hope I've like done a key at the start of the diary to indicate which one means which. But I do know that at that time, around 2012, the only targeting that I was experiencing was to the ears through the headphones. So they started off with headphone stinging surges, and that's what I referred to them as, is stinging surge, where it was like a stinging surge, very almost carbon copy in blatant responsiveness to what I'm being targeted now, to the heart, and mainly to the heart and the head. I'm just going to keep it fixed directly ahead of me, because it's the type of thing they would do just like seconds after I've been talking about sirens, and they'll show themselves and I won't be recording it, which was the case when I was on the canal about 20 minutes ago. Two I keep saying sirens, it's not sirens if it's not audible. Two separate instances of blue strobe lights. There was 1,134 posts, which is a year's worth of diary. Half a year's of diary notes, because I printed out the January to June 2007, so I have them in printout form. So these are the June till December will be on the file on the desktop record, but they're not the diary notes that I'm going to be referring to just as diary notes. They're going to be now diary notes, referring to them as the rewrite, what was happening during the typing up of the notes 5 years after they'd been written, and what was going on as I was typing them. So that's 1 year's worth, and then I stopped for a reason, but I was stopped at that point. So at least I've got a full year's it's about 4 years worth of diary notes, rewrites 5 years after the original write-up. of the original notes. So the 2012 ones will be basically now me logging what was happening as I was typing them up, because I have those notes anyway to refer to just in diary form, in the original diary form. So it's kind of cool that I can do that as well. It might reveal quite a lot. In fact, I know it will, because what I've been seeing tonight, where the symbols are placed. I've just got to figure out now, or find out what those symbols meant. I think the hashtag meant I was targeting to the ears. So the other one, because it was pointing upwards, I would guess that was meaning my head. And that was the two forms of targeting. There was no targeting to the heart at that point. That came at a later stage. So like I say, it's been tiered targeting, which is probably always part of the plan. And they just step it up every time. So initially it was just ears, then it became ears, head, and then it became head and heart. And I've just been targeted to the head, as I explain all that. The left crown of my head. Kind of weird, isn't it, that I've been out for a good hour and the only targeting I've experienced to my head is when I'm talking about targeting to my head 5 minutes from my home on my bike, cycling on my bike. But as well, I mean, I've been targeted on trains, so response targeted, so you know, targeting someone on the bike is not that difficult, especially when I think I've figured out how they do the targeting as well, how they administer the targeting, which I made on a record the other day when I was out cycling, regarding cloning and what happens when you're in the hospital from birth, and why they try and deter people from having home births, all for a reason. But I got a recording of that, I got that audio of that. So apparently Rumble's a free speech site. I was looking into it earlier today. Apparently Rumble's free speech, but whether it is entirely or how long that'll be for remains to be seen. But I've signed up for it now. I have a Rumble account, so maybe some of the stuff that I couldn't really put on YouTube, hence the week-long upload ban that I've just had this week. I've only been able to start uploading material from yesterday onwards. Target to the head again. It's all fear. It's all fear-based. Fear-based targeting. The heavier it gets, the more fear they feel towards you. The more they fear you. The more you're doing the right thing by yourself, and not in their eyes. They don't want to be exposed as the bad guys. They've been seen as the good guys for so long. They don't want someone to come along and expose them as the bad evil motherfuckers that they really are. So now the Facebook account's closed, everything's sorted with that. I've got that as evidence now to refer to. I've been meaning to do that for quite a while now. I just wanted to get it done before something happens along the lines of MSN, MySpace, where they just suddenly close Facebook and then it's no longer accessible. I didn't want that to happen, because I was really pissed when I couldn't get access to my MSN blogs, because there was a shitload of evidence on those things. Some of the best evidence I could possibly have had in my hands. So, just fear. You can't take it when the shoe's on the other foot. That's what it amounts to. They can dish it out, as I've always said, they can dish it out plenty. But can't take shit. If they were a boxer, they'd be Frank Bruno. And now they're finding they're facing a bit more of a Mike Tyson than they ever fucking thought they would be. It's an interesting analogy, actually. It's not too bad, that one. I mean, I'm not saying I'm Mike Tyson by any stretch, but it's just an analogy. I think it's a good one. In other words, they're finding out I'm a bit more of a fighter than they ever bargained for. Don't pick fights with someone to begin with. can't hack it and deal with it. Like, they can deal with it, they can stick lead in the glove. But how more pathetic would that make them look than they already are?